Hey guys, I know I haven't done a tutorial here in a while, so I figured that I would do the one that I promised, which is the XML loading. I went ahead and started it out. I know that it's going to make it a little bit harder to follow along for you guys. You'll have to watch it maybe 2 times or so. Anyway, start out with a blank ActionScript, blank FLA document in Flash. And then I just created the actions layer and the animation layer. I locked the actions layer so that no graphical things can be added to it. And then for the ActionScript, this is actually all there is on the file. There is no actual animation. I just use that as good practice. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this ActionScript layer and start showing you what we're going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and run the program so you can see what it is. What it does is it uses Flash to load XML data. As you can see here, there is gallery, image file, pick one, title, blah, description, photographer, so on and so forth. Now the big benefit to this is that when you're able to load XML through Flash and interpret it, you can create image loaders and stuff to where you have a bunch of images stored in XML that tell it where to go and create some really awesome looking, just crazy projects with images. So now to actually show you how I did it, starting out here in the actions layer, let me get this up a little bit more for you. You start off with import fl.controls. And basically all this does is imports all the controls for the components that you can possibly use. Then I create a text field on the stage, var space info underscore dot text creates a new text field. Then I do add child to add the info underscore dot text to the actual stage. And then I give it some properties here. I give it a height of 100, and then info.text.autosize, text field autosize .left. This makes it so where it kind of autosizes itself to make sure that it can fit everything. I went ahead and added a test in here just to make sure that it was working. It did. So then after I was done creating that, we have to actually have an XML file already ready. So I'm just popping over to Dreamweaver here. And I went ahead and created XML. I just created a gallery image with a title, description, photographer, and so forth. And all I'm trying to do is get it to read all of this. So just save it as gallery.xml in the same folder that you're going to save your Flash as, and you should be good. Now, once you have XML saved in the same directory as your Flash, you need to create an XML object. So create var gallery underscore XML. Then we need to create a URL request to grab the XML, and then a URL loader to load the XML. So XML request is a URL request, new URL request type, and I put gallery XML right here. And since it's in the same directory, you don't need to do anything else. And then now create the var XML loader, the URL loader. So this is going to load the information from the gallery.xml file. And then you're going to want to create a function to handle what it does with that loaded info. And to do that, gallery underscore XML, which is your XML right here, equals new XML, and then it's XML loader for the parameters. You want to pass an XML loader dot data. So what the data is it's basically a placeholder for anything that is actually in the XML file itself. So it says basically load what's in the document. Don't forget the semicolon, and then under that, info underscore dot text, which is the text field that we created up here and auto-sized. So info underscore dot text equals gallery underscore XML, which is our XML variable, and then it equals, so that equals gallery underscore XML dot to XML string. So it's going to grab the XML in that string. Okay, and then now what we need to do is come down here and we need to create the XML loader dot load, and then it loads the XML request, which is the URL request up here. And then we need to add an event listener to make sure that it's completely loaded before it handles that. So XML loader dot add event listener event dot complete. So once it's finished loading, it'll go to the function XML loaded, which is actually right here. So XML loaded, and then that's an event type, and then the return type on this is void. It's not returning any extra values for right now. So then that will grab it and then parse the XML out into the text box, which is what you get when you run it. Control Enter or Command Enter on a Mac, and you'll have the XML from your XML field. So just to go over that one more time, you create a text box, making sure you use the add child method to add that to the stage, and then create an XML object, a URL request, a URL loader, an event to handle it once it's completely loaded, and in that event you need to tell that XML variable that it's going to load the data from the request, and then the info._text.text is the text field, so it's telling it where to put that data, and then using toString to parse it out, and then xmlLoader.load tells it to load the XML request from the URL, and xmlLoader.addEventListener event.complete waits for the load to be complete and then executes the XML loaded, which is the function right here. And don't forget in your URL request to add the name of your file .xml. If you do that, you should be able to bring the XML up, whatever you typed in as the XML, into your input window or when you run it. So that should be good. If you have any questions on XML, there's tons of information out there on the web. Basically, it stands for Extensible Markup Language. It's like HTML, but you create your own tags. That's the video tutorial for today. Sorry I haven't done one in a while. I've been pretty busy. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good day.